welcome back to the Overshares podcast. I'm Hartha.
And I'm Cotton.
And today we have a special guest.
Hi, assalamualaikum. My name is Abdiwahab.
Relax, breathe.
Yeah.
I think Abdiwahab's like the second boy on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I watched, me and my wife watching your podcast.
No
But the
way.
one that we found the most interesting, that's so scary, was a jinn one.
Oh,
We were watching that one.
Ibrahim. Oh, that was the first guy on our podcast.
Yeah, I was watching, I was like, whoa, these stories are crazy.
The last story was a lie. That really put me off.
Wait, what?
You know the one that he was like about the woman that
Oh,
was,
yeah. Do you know what I
We
thought
were
you were
like,
talking about? I thought you meant the last story in the last episode was a lie.
No.
Can you imagine that?
Let's wait.
Can you imagine someone sends me a barefaced lie and says, please read this out on your podcast?
I feel like sometimes they do.
Oh my God, don't say that because
It's okay.
we can't,
Reddit
jeopardize
stories,
But
the
we're
integrity
trusting.
of our listeners.
But even if it's a lie, there's a story behind it.
Exactly. There's a
lesson,
meaning,
there's a
yeah.
meaning.
Oh
So
my
you can
God.
still learn something.
I love that you said that because you know what people always say, oh, this did not happen. But
They love doing that because I'm thinking you don't have friends.
Exactly.
You don't go outside. You don't talk to people, so you don't know what's real, what's not.
Yeah.
You're just at home. You're just
haven't
making fake
experienced
accounts. It's not real. It's not real.
Isn't that real? They're literally naysayers, but it's like this could actually happen.
Yeah.
It happened to someone.
And they haven't gone Somalia. I think if you go Somalia and you listen to the real Habir stories, then you realize.
Oh my God.
Especially when they're at the and then you're thinking, yeah, this is not real.
But I feel like they add so much drama to their stories. It's my dream to go to Hargeisa just to get stories from the women. From the women's
You don't need to go
perspective.
Hargeisa, just go Wamo. Just go to Sheffield.
I know.
Oh,
my
you're
God.
local.
Yeah, look.
He's up the road. So Abdiwahab, tell us. Basically, I know you as the Somali lover boy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you accept that name.
I do.
Yes, you do. You're like
I do.
the man that talks about child. It's
Yeah.
so like it's very forth. It's very good. I feel like from the
It's very
perspective-
grown.
Very
and
grown.
Yeah.
It's giving. You know that.
Grown and sexy. Sorry. I just really wanted to say grown and sexy.
You know that.
But
you
like-
know that film back in the day, and there was a poetry from, and it's got that guy.
I know you're talking about.
Come on, guys. Let's-
And he was black.
Yes.
There was
And
Nina.
then he was like,
Love-
Nina the Blues.
Yeah.
What was it called?
It's
Love
Jones.
Jones.
Love Jones.
It's giving Love Jones.
It actually
era.
was my favorite movie growing up.
See?
Yeah,
Oh
it was.
my
It was
God.
that Hitch, and so many others. Like,
So would you
Jesus.
say you're the Somali Love Jones?
No, I wouldn't because he was toxic as hell.
Yeah, he was toxic.
They were
But in the
definitely
end,
toxic.
I feel she was toxic as well.
They were both
They were both
quite
to each other,
toxic,
and it was like
yeah.
watching two people and then seeing everything happening. Especially what she got with his friend. I was thinking
Yes.
that's so confusing.
No, I feel like you're very wholesome.
No, I feel like you're the other side of. I feel like you're the poetry side of Love Jones in the sense that, like, I'm not saying you do poetry, but not a lot. Let's be honest, not a lot of Somali men openly talk about relationships in a positive way, or talk about love, and
Yeah, just that
Yeah,
general,
just that general
genre of like,
like a-
emotions and
They don't like it.
like vulnerable
No,
things.
It's funny that you say that because I was watching a TikTok live the other day, and they love doing these things where they put like the black screen and then a controversial topic.
Yeah,
that, like,
it's
should
jarring.
men ever be vulnerable?
Yeah.
And then
Of
I'm
course
like,
they should.
you've never studied psychology. You've never read a marriage book in your entire life or spoken to any psychotherapist.
Yeah.
Yet you are out here saying these demeaning things, and they're like, yeah, man, like, you can never be vulnerable with your wife. And I'm like, what are you doing?
What the hell?
I'm like,
Who
what
else are you going to be vulnerable with? Tell us.
Exactly.
I'm like, what are you doing? And the majority of them, I'm like, you're single. We can tell from the way you talk that
Yeah.
you've never been in any marriage or any relationship.
Yeah.
You're just waffling for the internet.
Exactly. It's just trying to create some virality.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Gen Z men? How old are you?
I'm 27.
You're like millennial? Millennial?
No, I'm Gen Z.
Are you
Still
Gen Z?
yeah,
No.
unfortunately.
Sorry, I don't want to
I should
claim
be.
you. How's 27 millennial?
I thought it was
millennial. Sorry.
Apparently we're
When are you
Gen
born?
X or something like that, maybe.
Anyone that's born after 95 is Gen Z, no?
Possibly, but I'm born 98.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh my god! 1998 is 27.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
let's go back. Let's go back, guys. Okay. Wow. It's okay.
Yeah.
Our cousin's 20. She was born in 2000. She's 24.
Yeah,
Just
think about it
keep
like that.
Yeah.
No, that she even makes me feel old.
Yeah. When she told me she was 24, I was like, I remember you.
Yeah.
I remember you. Anyway, let's go back. So my question is, do you feel like Gen Z, we won't say boys, but Gen Z men are a lot more open about exploring vulnerability, relationships, love, talking about stuff? And my second question is, are the boys that are your age and that age range, are they looking to get married, and where do the girlies find them? Sorry, that was 2 questions and they were big.
So number one, are we more vulnerable than our predecessors?
Yeah,
I think we are. We're definitely, especially growing up in this country, we've accepted, a lot of us are more accepted of mental health.
Yeah.
For example. Accepted that we need support, that the whole basis of marriage is to support each other. Well, Allah says, I give you tranquility and, you know, rahma and wadda, and that, you know, you guys are a shelter for each other, you guys clothe each other. And so if anyone who understands the deen properly or understands what a relationship is, who accept that it is part of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are deciding to read more, and especially into this area. And a lot of us are exploring our own vulnerability, exploring our own masculinity, and understanding that part of being a masculine person is not just being a robot. It's not just pretending that you're never hurt or that things don't ever affect you. It's more of allowing things to affect you, but still preserving through them.
Yeah.
Still getting through the other end. Still fixing the things that need to be fixed, irregardless of how you feel. But a lot of people feel like, oh, if I tell how I feel, then I'm not masculine.
Oh, exactly.
And I'm like, that doesn't correlate. None of it correlates. And even, I'm just like, if you just like even like studied the seerah a little bit, even if you even read or even listened to the Prophet a little bit, you would understand that he had everything.
Yeah.
He had the vulnerability, he had the masculinity, and you can never say that the man that Allah who made perfect was not vulnerable with his wives. He asked for the advice. He asked for he consulted with them. Legit, on the day where he finally met Jibril, the angel, he ran to his wife and he said, cover me.
Yeah.
So now, can you stand up and say he wasn't a man? You know, he's like, you know, he wasn't a gel. You can't do that. You can't do that. But you do it to like random things. You're like, what are you doing? You work in a corporate world. You're coming home. Cool, you had a bad day. And what, you're going to hide?
Yeah.
You're going to take it out on your wife by what? Stonewalling. Or using psychological warfare and pretending that nothing's wrong, but your attitude stinks and thinking what's going on. So for me, it's always like, even like now that I'm practicing right now to be a relationship coach. So I'm getting my license. So after studying psychology, I went into mental health and I went into care, and then I decided, you know what, let me go into corporate. And then I was like, you know, I don't like this or whatsoever. So when I was doing a course, I met this relationship coach. As we started speaking, I remember it's just before I got married, and me and him were talking about what sort of career I should go into. And he's like, why don't you become a relationship coach? Like, you sound like you're already doing it.
Yeah, of course.
Why don't you do it? Why don't you go into it? And for me, I wanted to do psychotherapy and become a psychotherapist. But I was like, this is so long. I said, this is so long. And then when he said, no, but this is just for relationships. This is just helping people become a better partner. So you don't have to deal with like the past traumas or anything like that. You could have an understanding of it, but that's not your job to figure things out. You as a relationship coach just help somebody either get into a relationship.
So like counselling?
Yeah. So you would help somebody get from point 1 to point B. So you would help them understand themselves as a person. Because for me personally, love is a skill. It is not a feeling.
Really?
Yeah. So I even wrote in the book that
do you not
love
feel like
is
it's
a
a feeling and a choice? Like you choose to love your partner, but you also choose to action those things so you continue to have that love?
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think it has an aspect of feelings, but it's not a feeling. It's an action and a commitment.
What about
as in willful intention. That's the way I see it.
Okay.
So
I feel like you've gone a step further then, basically, with Harder's point.
Yeah. So it's that basically. And even in the book, there's a definition of love where I explain to people that love is an action. It's something that you do. It's something you commit to. Because when I was reading and doing my research, one of the things that kept like really irritating me was this feeling people would say, I just fell out of love with him. I just fell out of love with her. You know, I just wasn't.
No, something happened.
And then I'm like,
you're not doing things right.
Yeah, I'm like,
not working.
no. So for me, it's like, how do you make a 40 years commitment? Because marriage, let's say you get married at 20, average life of 80, let's say that's 60 years of your life. How do you commit to that with a feeling? It just doesn't make sense.
No, of course, I get it. But in my mind, the way I saw it was there's a feeling there because that's something you've both grown to have for each other in that time that you've been married. But the thing that basically works that whole thing, the thing that makes it work is the action that you put into it.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah,
I
but
don't
that
know.
feeling
Maybe I
is,
understood
is
right. But don't
but
worry,
that
you're the
feeling is
relationship.
just it's part of the package. So you are going to feel with any sibling or any relationship, there are going to be feelings there.
Yeah.
But it's not to be motivated by your feeling. It's not to do things. Oh, today, you know what? I don't feel like it, so I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
But tomorrow,
okay.
I'm so motivated by this feeling, I'm going to do it.
Valid.
So,
But there are times that you might feel like you're maybe at 5% in love, and you just don't want to do anything, and you just want to rot, and like you don't want to see your partner.
That's different. I think for me personally, I don't see it like that.
Yeah.
I see it as like I've made a commitment, and therefore I'm going to. If you need help, for example, let's say that 5% that day, you tell your husband, hey, look, like I'm not feeling well today. I'm not feeling it today.
Yeah.
So can you help me? And it'll be a skill thing.
Yeah.
That is you communicating to him, hey, like it's nothing to do with you. It's more to do with me today, not feeling that love, not feeling that, not even that love, just not feeling it today.
As a person,
As
you're
a
just not
person,
feeling
yeah.
it.
But you can't interpret it as I don't love you less today. I only love you 5%
No,
today. Biddy, come
no,
back.
of course not. It's,
We're close the shop today.
Yeah, it's not your day.
Yeah, it's not your day.
Yeah, today's the day for me.
Yeah. And the second part of the question, which was where the boys.
Where
Where
are
they
they
at?
Where are the boys? Where are they at? 'Cause
I
there's a
think-
lot of girls that are interested in getting married, but I feel like often they meet people that obviously don't have the same wavelength as them, or they're not interested in marriage, or they're playing around, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
So that's
the
guys.
problem is that they're worried, and you can chime in.
Yeah.
They're worried about either having someone, like you described the mindset of like our predecessors, and obviously like now it's a lot better.
Yeah.
So like obviously when you want to get married, there's always the option that you're going to get someone that isn't conscious or like emotionally emotionally available or understands like these concepts, like and I don't know, I think based on that I just wanted to understand, like obviously I don't know if you think it's because it's like a lack of knowledge of the suitor, or like how the Prophet used to behave with their wives, or that the majority of like God-fearing people are emotionally available with their wives. If it's like toxic masculinity or whatever, like, but I think girls are scared of that. So like what advice can you offer to someone that is constantly sitting in those feelings?
So one of the reasons why I wrote this book was when I was looking for a partner, there was a thing where I was like, okay, the thing is, a lot of people feel like it's only guys who are emotionally unavailable. A lot of girls are also on the same spectrum of being emotionally unavailable. Or here's the thing, it's like a spectrum of I'm emotionally unavailable, or I'm going to trauma dump everything into you in this one conversation, this one meeting, and sometimes there's no balance there. And then you have guys who are hiding their emotions, not really talking about it. And the girls are like, okay, cool. What's going on? Like, let me reach you. Does that make sense? But men and women are completely different. There's this book where men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And there's so much truth in that. In a sense where you can't force somebody to be vulnerable with you. You have to let them open up. You have to give them the safe space. But at the same time, a man does have to understand that, hey, in the relationship itself, it's being vulnerable. The sweetness of the relationship itself is actually showing yourself to another person and hoping that other person doesn't violate, basically. And when they do violate, that's when you go, oh yeah, like I can't trust you anymore. Like I told you something about me that was vulnerable, or I held it in my heart, and then you throw it back at me. That's what people are afraid of, in my opinion.
Valid.
And obviously we're Muslims, and we're not allowed to date or do any of that stuff. So again, there's more difficulty in understanding. Like
I don't think you should date anyways.
No, we shouldn't. But I just think it's like, I don't know. I don't want to say it's like a hindrance in terms of like trying to understand a partner in this way. But you like, even if it was like a completely halal, like getting to know phase, and there's a mahram present or whatever, how much of that individual can you like
reveal?
Or know before, like.
That's the whole point. Like I wrote this book is. It has so much of that. It speaks about emotions. It speaks about lifestyle. It speaks about how would you need support. What would you do if this happened to me and that happened to me? I think what I always say to people, like if you go into a relationship or you go into marriage with a haram relationship. I say you're taking the barakah out.
Yeah.
It's like me
100%.
deciding to pray, but I'm going to pray towards the qibla. I'm not going to pray towards the qibla. I'm going to pray towards another direction.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a way Allah decided for you.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand that it is Allah that puts love within the marriage. It is Allah that puts all these things.
Oh my God, that's so true. I always forget that.
Yeah, it is Allah that controls things. That Allah is al-wadud. Allah is the most loving.
Yeah.
So all love and all time and all things that you're looking for from this person, you can only get it from Allah.
So the rahmah from
Yeah.
Allah, yeah.
So if you're going against Allah, you're going to this haram relationship where you feel like, you know, it's going to work out for me.
Yeah.
You're fooling yourself. And I always say as well, in the sense of, let's say a relationship. Let's give it a quantify. I always say to people, let's quantify it. So you're in a relationship with somebody and you're seeing them how many times? You're probably seeing them once a week, if most. Most people see each other once a month, twice a month, whatever.
Yeah.
That's 12 times a year. You're speaking to each other on the phone, an hour, 2 hours, texting each other the majority of the day.
Yeah.
If you quantify everything, you're speaking to each other for 6 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours a week.
It's a lot.
That's not a lot.
Oh,
In 10
really?
hours, you don't think I can pretend to do and be whatever I want?
I'm fake.
No, of course, yeah.
Exactly. I can be the sweetest man in 1 hour because it's only 1 hour.
You can be whoever you want to be.
Exactly.
That's the scariest
So that's
thing.
the thing. When people say, oh, like, I need to get to know him. Like, I must know him. And, you know, I need to know her. And, you know, I'm like, my friend, you know nothing about this person. You've only spent 1 hour with them. And that one day that you went out with them,
So
they put on their best
though.
face, they put on everything, and they come and they said, ha!
It's true, it's theatrics.
Exactly.
But wouldn't that still be the same if you did it the halal way? You still wouldn't know
Because
that person.
with the halal way, you are making dua, you're involving Allah. With the haram way, you're involving shaitan. So who do you want as your partner? Do you want Allah to... And also if you... I think a lot of people, I always tell people, pray istikhara. Like before I met my wife, I prayed istikhara immediately. And I said, oh Allah, it's up to you. You know what I don't know. So if this is khair for me, make it easy for me. And if it's not khair for me, also make it easy for me to be content with it. And that's the part where people don't do. And that's the part where people always pray istikhara when it's too late. Oh Allah, show me a sign. What do you mean? What do you mean? And then they ignore 20 signs. They're like, nope. Nope.
No, I want this person.
Yeah, I want this person. And I'm like, you're ignoring the signs that Allah is leaving to you.
Yeah.
Or they pray istikhara in the wrong way where they wait in istikhara to make the decision for them. I'm like, no. The decision is, oh Allah, I want to marry this person. So I'm going to talk to them.
Yeah.
If it's good for me in this life and the next life, make it easy for me. And if it's not, remove me from it.
I think that's amazing, honestly.
Just quickly, what requirements should the girlies have? Give us key pointers for halal talking stage. What are things that you feel like the girlies should be looking for if looking at your book?
Like, what should they be prioritizing?
Bullet point 3 things that
I
they should
think
prioritize.
Number one, I think that's a very loaded question because someone's priority could be another person's thing. For example, there's a bit in this book where it's like non-negotiables positive, non-negotiables negative, and then a good thing. So it's an exercise where I tell somebody to sit down and write things that the person should have for you. Things that obviously normal, they're practicing, they're deen, possibly for you, they have this type of job or whatever. And then the non-negotiable negative where you're like, no, this person cannot have any bilwad where they're like smoking or drinking. This person cannot be superficial in their deen. This person has to be coming from this big family or whatever. And then there's a good thing. We're like, you know what? I like if he has a bit of humor. I like if he has good dress sense and stuff like that.
Do you think they should have little titles?
Yeah,
like,
so
this one can be about like his characteristics.
Yeah.
This one can be.
Yeah, I actually put it in the book where it's in like a table order. And then I gave an example of it.
Yeah.
So that is one exercise. That's what I did, where I sat down and I said, you know what?
Oh my God, it's like literally creating your perfect human.
It's not, you shouldn't be too crazy with it. It shouldn't be like, oh my God, 1, 2, 3. But it should be like, these are the bare minimum that the person should have.
Yeah.
These are the bare minimum that the person should have for me to go forward with them. Another thing is, I've always wondered why people don't, especially girls. I'm like, you are what we're coming for. Like at the end of the day, we come to collect for you.
Yeah.
We come get your hand. We ask for marriage from you. So then why are you allowing us to talk to you so easily? So, for example, me, the first time I met my wife, her dad was there. And her mom was there.
Love that.
So immediately, I already got the permission. And every time I spoke to her, someone was already there. Every time we met each other, someone was already there. So it meant that there was a boundary that she put up. And she said, yo, if you want to talk to me, this is the boundary. You have to talk to me from here. And I had a choice of accepting that boundary or saying no. Like, you know what? Like, I'm not really ready.
I'm not phoning up.
And I've always said, you spoke to a man for 7 months, 8 months, and you not once has he met your parent? No, because I'm trying to get to know him.
But Abdiwahab, come on.
No, I think that's so dangerous.
No, but
That's so
come on,
dangerous.
listen. I think, look, like you are, I think, the exception. You and others
A lot
like
of
you
people
are
did it.
exceptions. No, but
Yeah.
come on, like, do you know what I
Go
mean?
on.
There's a lot of people, there's a lot of like men that are just there to play around. Do you know what I mean?
But how do you know? If the only way you can get rid of someone's playing around is to say, hey, I'm serious about marriage. My intention is to do a halal. And if you want to do a halal, these are my prerequisites. These are my boundaries. If you want to speak to me, first of all, no one's telling their intention. Like, I have so many DMs of people saying, hey, I've been speaking to this person for like this many months and I don't know where it's going. And I'm like, what do you
But
mean
it's
you
just
don't know
so
where it's
common
going?
though. It's so common.
But I'm like, how did you get there?
because they don't
I
have
always wonder.
they don't have the blueprint.
But okay, I always tell people, intention creates clarity, creates direction.
Everyone is always making those, you know, those silly little mistakes.
Yeah.
Like talking to people for 5 months is not going anywhere. Or like, I don't know, just general things that like are quite common.
Yeah.
Talking stages being one of them.
Oh.
Like, do you know what I mean?
There's so many.
They're so
for
common.
Example, there was one friend I had, and I remember just before I got married, he was like, "Oh, bro, like how?" He was talking about his partner, and we were talking about mine. He was like, "Oh, how do you know? Like, how did you know she was the one?" And I said to him, "Bro, I had questions ready before I even met her. I had things I wanted to know ready already. So when I met her, I just sat down with her and I said, "Hey, well, this is very serious to me. My intention is to get married. I'm not here to mess about. I'm not here to do X, Y, Z, and I don't want to do anything haram. Here's my boundaries." She said, "Khalas." She said, "I'm with it." She said, "I'm with it." Then I said, "Okay, I have questions." I said, "For me to get to know you properly, I have questions." The idea of a talking stage for me, of you just willy-nilly vibing, deciding on the biggest contract of your life. Allah legit says it's the biggest contract of your life. Like, people sit there when they get in a car and they read the terms and conditions, but you're marrying this person for life and you're not even checking nothing. So I remember we were speaking and I was like, yeah, I already asked her these many questions already. I already know everything about her. Everything that I need to know to move forward, I already know. He was like, all right, cool. He said, can you send me the questions? I said, sure, I'll send it to you. Sent it to him. A week later, he messages me back. He goes, yo, you know that girl I was speaking to? Yeah, I ended it. I think so.
No.
Oh my God.
And I go, why?
Because the questions.
And he goes,
She didn't pass the test.
First few questions that he asked about children. So he said, like, would it be a problem if we had a child in the first year of marriage? She's like, yeah, like, it would be a huge problem. Like, I don't want children whatsoever.
Oh.
How have they not discussed that
And
in
that's
5 months?
the thing. They weren't.
In 5 months?
A lot of people are
What are
like,
you guys doing?
Why would we bring up children? We're just vibing.
No.
You know, we're just talking about what's on
Let's be
Netflix.
for real now. Maybe as millennials, our life was different from us.
No, but a lot of people.
Do you know what it is though? I just
it's loaded. Everyone says
Yeah,
to
true.
me,
I see
the
what you
question is loaded. You're asking
But-
to me direct questions.
Do you know what, Abdiwahab? It's like at the end of the day, it all depends on the intentions of the individuals, right? Some people want to vibe, which I'm not encouraging that they should,
Yeah.
but they do.
But you can't cry after.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't cry after.
And say, oh, why didn't this happen?
Exactly.
But you know what it is? I think what I'm understanding from this is, I feel like, and this is actually really sad, and it kind of, if we come back to like the Day of Judgment, it kind of reminds you of how far we've gone, like we've strayed from the way that Allah and the Prophet have told us
Yeah.
Exactly,
to follow,
yeah.
which is this. And if you think about the structure of how you do that, it's the safest way to get married to someone that
legit.
is
I
safe.
put,
The
like,
problem that
Yeah.
we're currently facing, though, just to add to that,
Yeah.
is the structure that we're following. Not a lot of people are following that structure. Like I would say, like the most common way that people are getting to know each other is the other way.
But it's
Yeah,
also
we've all
why
been
there's so many
influenced
divorces.
negatively.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So because you can't ask for barakah from a situation that's haram. The
Yeah.
same way you can't make drug money and go to the mosque with it. They're gonna ask you where's this money from, and if you say, oh, you know, I made from drugs or whatever, they're gonna be like,
It's
we
a
don't
broken
accept it.
cycle if you
We
think
don't
Okay,
about
accept
but my
it.
question
So
is-
how do you accept the relationship?
My question is,
marriage?
how
Yes.
do we get people to unlearn this toxic way?
So alhamdulillah, in the book that I put in all the perspective. I said, this is the blueprint. This is the prophetic blueprint. This is what the Prophet ﷺ suggested. This is what you're gonna do. And if you stray from it, the pain is gonna be on you. It's simple as that. Allah legit said in his Quran, it's Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path. And he also said that, the Prophet ﷺ said that there's going to be a point where holding on to your religion is like holding on to hot coal.
Hot coal, yeah.
This exact situation.
So the reality of it is,
Subhanallah.
if you consider yourself a Muslim and you want to be practicing Muslim, then there's things that Allah said. In business, this is what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
In war, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
And in marriage, this is what you should do. So why are people going to other way and thinking, oh, that's going to be correct? We're influenced by Western media. We're influenced by where we live, what we see. But I explain to people.
I think humans are also like there's like also the influence of like just wanting a connection.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even if like the intention isn't even there for marriage, there's some people probably don't intend for marriage, but maybe like somewhere down the line they're like, oh, like perhaps this could be who I settle down. Do you know what I mean? It's just there's that human connection. Wallahi, honestly, it's just that human connection aspect is very like it's very wrong.
Yeah.
It's very from your desires. But a lot of people are following their desires.
But that's exactly the thing that you're supposed to control.
Yeah.
Your nafs is telling you to follow your desire.
Yeah.
Your nafs is always telling you, oh, do this, talk. And the shaitan never starts from the top. Shaitan never tells you, oh, commit zina by, having sex immediately. They're always going to say, just look at her.
I feel like do the little tussle,
just
the little double.
Just say good morning, and then meet her, and then 6 months down the line, when you're down the line, you've done something that you regret.
Yeah.
And it's sad because a lot of the scenarios that we get sometimes are girls who are, and it's not just girls, it's guys as well, but like people who, I'll say people, but people who are actually really connected to their deen. They understand it very well, and because they're lonely or they feel isolated or they feel like they have that desire to have that connection, it's like small little messages will turn into
something.
FaceTimes turn into madness, pictures, and then they regret all of that afterwards because obviously the consequences of what they've done
is weighing heavy
on them, and it's like, I shouldn't have done this, but you shouldn't have talked to him in the first place. And it's like, how can I explain it? Like, we all know our deen, guys. Like, most of us do anyway. The ones that went to Quran, like, we all grew up with like Somali mums. Of course they took us to Mal'amad. Of course most of us understand the concept of zina and staying away from zina and staying away from boys and not talking to girls, etc. But like a lot of us don't follow that because in our minds we generally don't think we're practicing. Even though when you get older and your frontal lobe grows, you start looking at religion a bit more not from the perspective of like how your parents used to force you, but now you're actually thinking, what is my faith? Like, what is my religion? How am I and once you get in, maybe once you start exploring that, you become a bit more religious to be like, okay, let me not do it this way. However, there's a majority of people who
they have a moment of weakness.
It's not even the moment of weakness, it's that there's a majority of people that listen to us who are conscious of deen, yet they don't follow this method.
I think it's because, number one, it's so normalized to see.
Exactly.
It's so normalized to be
I
in a relationship.
don't even think it's the case. I don't even think the case is that they don't follow the method. I think they want to follow this method, but something has presented itself in the form of like shaitan. Like,
it is, but
do you know what I mean? A man has entered the picture or a woman has entered the picture and it's like all like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like sense has just left.
I think the way so before I was conscious of my deen, I think it was normal for me to speak to a girl and just speak to her. Like even if I had no intention, I'll just speak because, as you said, the connection and stuff like that. And then after I started practicing and being conscious of my deen, I realized why was I doing that? And it was because it was obviously a bit is ignorance and also not knowing. Yeah, so not knowing, and also another thing was in a sense of not realizing that Allah loves you, not realizing that Allah didn't implement anything in the deen to hurt you. It was everything to protect you, to care for you, and to illustrate that, hey, if you do this, like, this is going to be the best thing for you. Yeah. And in sense of like marriage, it's such a big thing, especially as a Muslim. Especially young people, like, we're always talking about it, like, I'm trying to get right? And even like when you're with your girls or with your boys, that topic will come up. And you're thinking, okay, when do I find my person? Or how do I find my person? And you see people, and you see different aspects of marriage where some people are like, yeah, man, like this is crazy stuff. Like, don't do it. Like, you're going to be imprisoned. And the girls are like, yeah, like he's going to control me.
Oh, there's a lot of that. Naysayers.
He's going to control me. And they're like, oh yeah, like I'm never going to do this for him. And there's a lot of guys are like, yeah, like I'm not going to pay this maher and stuff like that. I'm like,
oh my God.
You guys have taken the most tiny minuscule of marriage. And you guys made it the big thing.
Yeah.
Like, not once when I was getting married to my wife did I ever speak about meher until the last part. but yet online, 50k. I'm like 50k, 5k. I'm not paying more than a cat. I'm thinking, get the hell out. I'm thinking, get the hell out of here. And then there's like this whole thing of like, oh yeah, like I'm never gonna cook for my man and stuff like that, and I'm never gonna do this and I'm not gonna do that, or buying flowers, I'm never gonna do that for her. You know, all this God, I'm not gonna do that. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Like
They're arguing about the wrong things.
Talking about the wrong things in the wrong places at the wrong time. And then the married people, which I'm actually annoyed at, you guys are enjoying yourselves and not telling us.
They're not telling us.
They're like, yeah. Shh. They're just going jet skis and all these holidays, and I'm thinking, you're not enjoying yourself. Like you used to be.
They're
with
like,
us.
I'm not revealing my blessings.
Yeah, they're like, I'm not revealing. And then the worst people are coming online. Oh yeah, he did that to me. Oh, she did that to me. She made me a sandwich when I was supposed to get this. So we're getting like the worst version of marriage online. And then the people who are married and having a good time and just enjoying themselves,
they
are
just
being hush with it.
Yeah,
Like,
the most
married.
fully equipped, knowledgeable people.
They're just like, they're like, let's not tell anyone, okay?
Let's keep our barakah.
Yeah, let's just keep our barakah. But a part of also keeping barakah is not flaunting, but also giving the other people the other side of the story, saying, yo, like, this is the most beautiful thing ever. Like I've been married now. I'm like, I'm enjoying myself. Like I have a support partner. I have somebody who can be vulnerable with. I have somebody who can laugh with. I'm legit laughing 24/7. So I'm like, why wasn't this part shown to us?
Yeah.
Like before I got married, I got told, be careful.
It's so true.
She might steal your £65. I'm thinking, I'm like, you're worried about the wrong thing. Or like, we're all poor people. We're all coming from council house. None of us are millionaires.
Yeah.
So what are you hiding in your pocket that we don't know about?
There's so many like little things that are just so sweet about marriage that people don't like talk about.
Exactly, like just going home and your wife is there and she's waiting for you and she's like, hi, how are you? Like, and stuff like that. But all these men are like, no, I don't want to work for her, I don't want to provide for her. 50-50, da-da-da. I'm like, get the hell out of here.
Or I don't even want to come home tonight.
I don't want to go home.
Please.
I'm thinking, okay, let's keep it quiet. Let's calm it down. And then you have people having a good time. They're like, yeah, we're just gonna go to our Dubai. We're just gonna go to our jet skis and stuff like that. So we'll let you two argue. And then there's all the bitter people online. And they're just bitter with each other.
So many.
And now you have like impressionable young people who are watching these people
consuming
and they're like,
it.
wow, like maybe I shouldn't get a girl flower. Or you know what, maybe I shouldn't be kind to my husband. Maybe I should hold out. And then you have the Somali mums.
We have to explain it to the English speaking ones.
So the head is like, close your stomach. Is the Somali saying like, don't be too soft. Don't be like, be harsh, be ready for a fight type of thing. And it's because their generation grew up like that.
Yeah,
and
they were in like fight or flight.
And these girls already on the first date, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna fight him already. Like if he wakes up and says hi, I'm gonna say no, get out of here. So it was about. So the reason why I actually created a book was I spoke.
What is the name of the book?
So it's funny enough. The name of the book, Can I Ask You a Question? And the reason why I called it Can I Ask You a Question is I constantly ask my wife questions. And the first thing I say to her is, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? And she gets to a point where, like, throughout the day, she'll be like, you know what? No more questions. We're done for today. And so it's 150 essential questions for blessed and successful marriage. So when I was doing my research, I went to psychotherapist and I went to marriage counselors. And I went to divorce. And I went to divorce counselors and stuff like that. And I asked them.
Were they Islamic ones or just?
Yeah. So a lot of a mixture. I went to some Islamic ones. I went to ones that are not. And I asked them, hey, like I'm trying to write a book. And alhamdulillah, there was a group of people who really did help me with my research. And I also really interviewed 25 married people, 17 divorced people. And the funny thing is, the divorced people actually had better questions than the married people. I was so annoyed because I was like, a part of it was, okay, I understand you don't want to say anything about your partner. You don't want to reveal too much about your situation. But the divorce people, they're like, yeah, my guy, let me tell you, he did this, she did that. I should looked out for this. I should looked after for that. For example, one of the questions that I always think about is, which is a really good friend of mine told me, was what's the boundary crossed? If crossed, would look at your spouse differently. And when I asked, okay, can you explain that story? She said she was pregnant and she fell down steeper stairs. And then she, I think, haptic break, stuff like that. Something on her back. She was pregnant, 4 months pregnant, and she traumatized it. And she went to hospital for it, and they were like, "There's nothing wrong now, but it looks like you traumatized it, and it shouldn't be traumatized because that's when at the end of it should happen at the end of your pregnancy." So her and her husband went to the hospital. They came back home. She couldn't walk up the stairs, so she slept downstairs.
And he didn't.
There's example scenarios.
Yeah. So there's.
Sorry, I'm already triggered.
So he didn't come upstairs with her, and then he woke up in the morning like 7 a.m. and she hasn't slept whatsoever because the pain was so bad.
This is triggering
So
me.
she told him, "Hey, can you go to the shop? I need I'm in a lot of pain. I need painkiller. Can you go to the shop?" He said to her, "I'll do it when I get off of work." Which was like going to be like 2 hours later or an hour later or something like that, or maybe a few hours. And then she was so triggered by that situation that she ended up walking to the shop. Bear in mind, the shop is 2 to 5 minutes, but it took her 45 minutes to get there
because of the pain she was in, and
she had to manage the
she went
pain.
through.
She went to the place.
I would have Uber Eats it. Sorry.
I don't think it was available.
I would have been cussing by the time.
And then she went to the shop, and the shopkeeper like gave her the water, gave her the things, and obviously she paid for it after. But he was kind to her, he gave her a chair.
The lack of empathy is very triggering.
Yeah, she walked 45 minutes back.
45 minutes for a 2-minute journey.
Yeah. That's how bad it was.
She was in pain. She fell down the stairs. She was pregnant, and she had an issue with her back.
Oh,
And
sorry,
he made her sleep on the sofa. Then he wouldn't get her paracetamol.
And then she came home.
I missed that whole part.
Yeah, 'cause you were looking
she
at the
said
book.
that was the day of the beginning of the divorce.
Valid.
After that day,
Valid.
I just didn't see him the same way.
Because that person doesn't have naharis.
Yeah,
Naharis means
couldn't-
empathy, guys.
And then so when I was,
Do you know what? Can I just say,
Sorry
that
to
guy,
interrupt you.
his manager, would have understood if he said to him, "My pregnant wife has
it wasn't
fallen."
about work. It was he just said, "I'll get up when I'm going to work."
I won't get up and help you
He
now.
came downstairs for water.
Oh, he's
And he
here. He's in the
noticed-
house.
Yeah, and he noticed. And
Wow.
he noticed her. She's downstairs, and he said, she said to him, "Yo, like I couldn't go upstairs. I didn't sleep all night. Can you go to the shop?" He told her.
They're
"It's
talking
7
face to face.
Yeah, he's in the house.
The shop's he's in the house. The shop's 2 minutes away.
And he said no to
He
her.
said no.
And she hurt her back and she's pregnant.
I thought he was at work.
No.
No.
The man's in her face.
No, this guy, there's something wrong with him.
And then she basically said, "Yep, that's the day."
So she grabbed her coat.
She went outside.
It's like a message to her.
Took a message of her.
He was, that means it was,
And then
he was.
It was at home, and then she just came back, did everything.
Do you not see why I'm screaming? I
And
would
then
be
later on, she
cussing.
said,
I would've spat in
"That
his
is the
face."
day. That is the day."
Actually, I
where-
wouldn't have spat in his face. But do you know what I mean? Like, you want to do something extreme.
Yeah, and then
Like,
so,
throw a shoe.
and then I asked
right
what was
there.
the.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so angry.
Yeah, and then in my other research, when I speak to a psychotherapist, I said, "Hey, can you give me a theme of like when people come to your place or when divorces happen?"
Sorry, wait, Abdiwahab, that story, is that a true story?
Yeah.
I'm not tired.
I can't believe it. I can't believe
Guys,
it.
let me just help you out. Kultum was reading a book while Abdiwahab was telling the story. She was zoned out.
I was looking at, can I ask you a question, examples, and this book is very good, by the way.
Yeah,
I
so
know.
the way it's structured, before I tell you, the way it's structured is question, and then I describe the question, and then I describe why the question is important, and then I give you an example where the Prophet enacted the question or a situation from the Prophet's life.
Very
And
clever.
then I give you a reflection where I ask you, have you reflected on this? Have you thought about this question? And how would you answer this question yourself?
I would give this to somebody who was thinking about getting married.
Yeah, so earlier we spoke about, what's it called? Vulnerability, right? So one of the questions here is, what emotional demands do you have of me? And I describe the question and then why this question matters. It says emotional demands vary from person to person. This question helps you understand how your potential partner seeks emotional support and connection within the marriage. For example, I told my wife that I require emotional support because I had these dreams I wanted to complete. Sometimes trying to build something and being the first in your family could be daunting, and I wanted somebody to help me realize my potential. At the same time, my wife said she wanted someone who was emotionally aware and intelligent, someone who would reassure her and soothe her. I agreed to be able to fulfill those emotional demands. Sometimes performing these emotional demands was just me listening and providing an empathetic ear. A lot of people think, oh, emotional demand, what's that? So much. Sometimes just listening.
Yeah.
Sometimes just
valid.
like reassuring somebody that, yo, it's going to work out, don't worry about it, and stuff like that. And the other part is why the question matters. I give you example scenario where the question matters.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's an example scenario where I give you and how someone would actually answer the question. And then there's the Prophet, and then there's a reflection. So it's like, ask yourself, do I know my own emotional needs, and am I ready to communicate them? Am I willing to meet my spouse's needs with love and patience? And how can we work together to create a fulfilling emotional connection?
Do you know what this text reminds me of? And I'm not even talking about like the contents. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the font
Yeah.
and just the way that it's like
Seems
laid
so
out.
crazy.
But you know, like, and it's, you know, an Islamic book. You know, like a book that you'd pick up in like Iqra bookstore or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm just like,
That
oh.
wasn't my intention, but thanks.
Yeah, no, it actually just like reminds me of that.
Yeah.
I just want to say.
The only thing that's missing is like the actual like
Writing.
the you know like the Arabic.
Yeah, that's exactly.
What was I going to say? I feel like this book is good for people who are getting married, who want to get married, but also it's good for people because I got the book from Abdiwahab and I've been reading it at home with my husband. Occasionally I'll put the book in his face, but look what the book says. This is what we need to do. So I feel like this is really good for like couples that are trying to like. I feel like when you're married for a long time, often you can lose. I wouldn't say the passion, but like just where you were,
your goals,
where you were, what the requirements are for each other. Like you're trying to constantly reignite something. And I feel like this is a really good way for couples to try and get to know each other again, because people often change.
One of the questions I was asked when I was writing the book was, would the book help married people? And so I designed it in a way where, because marriage is such a long time, I designed it in a way where, for example, if you haven't had kids yet, there's questions about kids, so to prepare you for kids. If you are, for example, at the early stage and you're still getting to know each other, you still can ask these questions and actually decide, you know what, even people update, people develop, people can be like, you know what, I used to think this before, but I think this now. For example, like me and my wife were speaking yesterday and she asked, has your love languages changed? And mine has. Because I used to think, oh, maybe I would need this and need that. I'm like, no, actually, now that I've been married, I realized, no, this wasn't
what I wanted,
this wasn't the most important thing for me. Actually, this is. And even she said, like mine changed as well. So there's idea or concept of marriage that people have in their head, then there's the reality of it.
Exactly.
So in the first 1 to 6 chapters, I basically talk about how marriage would look like for you, and I talk about the prophetic and there's just a lot of things. The first thing I try to do is to give people hope. Because a lot of people are like, I hate guys, I hate men, and there's the guys that are like, I hate women, man, like, stuff like that. I'm never gonna get married. So, or like if I get married, like, you know, this is gonna happen to me. So my intention at the first was, okay, give people hope, give people another perspective of marriage and how good it is. And then the other part of it was basically to ask for time, case for timely marriage, basically. So that was telling people, hey, like these long talking stages you're doing is not helping you. Is actually going against you. And here's what the Prophet said, here's what Islam says, and here's what psychology says, and how things don't work out in your favor in the end. And then it was about how to pick the right partner and how to actually know, because we get told gurzo, get married
but
immediately.
Where?
But you're like, okay, cool. Who am I looking for?
Who do I want?
Who do I like? Imagine like there's two different. There's scarcity and then there's a lot of options. The two people are in either. They're like, oh, bro, there's so many girls out there, or there's so many guys out there. How do I know which one to choose?
That's so true.
And then there's another one where it's like, there's no one out there. There's no one out there for me. I'm too peculiar. And I'm like, no, get the hell out of here.
There's someone laughing.
I'm too peculiar.
I'm too peculiar. Like I'm like this, and you know, I need this type of person. And you know, I'm a cat lady, or you know, I'm a gamers guy, anime guy, and stuff like that. So I was like, no, like there is a person for everyone. You just need to choose this exercise, understand, self-reflect. Because a lot of people just meet people and they're like, well, like, she's good looking, I'll be with her. Oh, he's tall, yes, it doesn't matter if he's a criminal, I'll be with him. That's it. And then so chapter 6 is like, why values matter more than chemistry. And this is where I say, like, yo, like, you shouldn't rely on catching feelings. And especially when people say, oh, butterflies, man, like this person, like I just felt alive with them. I'm like, yeah, that's called anxiety.
Danger.
We always say that.
Yeah, I said that's called anxiety. That is your stomach telling you, hey, we don't feel completely safe. I always tell people, like, if it's the right person for you, you should feel sleepy. You should feel calm, soothed. You shouldn't be on edge. You know, what's gonna happen now? I mean, it's not a movie. Like, this movie finishes in 1 hour, 2 hours. Your life is gonna continue. So stop picking people up on movies and stuff like that. And then chapter 7 is where basically where the structure of the book is the first questions are at the beginning and the last questions are the questions in the latter stage of the talking stage. So you shouldn't be asking about intimacy in the first day, or you shouldn't be asking about like huge, heavy loaded questions first time you're meeting.
Absolutely.
So, but the 62 most important are these questions where if you do not know these things about this person, just leave it. Just leave it. Like, you're not ready for marriage. You're not serious about it. You're just playing the game. You're just joking about, and you're just doing it for the funsies. And then you end up getting hurt. And now you're saying, oh, I hate men. I'm like, well, like there were good men all around you. You decided to ignore them for this person, and there were good women all around you.
Yeah.
You decided to ignore all the signs that this person wasn't your person, and now you're against everything. Oh, it's my qadar. I'm like, yeah.
It's the harsh truth.
Yeah. Or they say, oh, it's the one I hate the most is when people say it wasn't meant to be. I'm like, you had a great person. You decided to mess up. You decided to mistreat them. You decided to ghost them, or for example. And now that person no longer wants to talk to you because they have some self-respect. And they're like, yo, like, I'm not going to speak to somebody that ghosts me. And you're saying, it's meant to be. So you've divorced the responsibility of your action.
Yeah.
You're making it like Allah forced you to act and behave in the way you behaved.
Yeah.
No. It was part of your good or bad deeds as well. So that's the 62. And then the foundation of marriage. So I structured it in a way that most important. So for example, the first chapter 8 is like family.
Is each section titled?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So each chapter,
it's easy to follow.
Yeah. So chapter 8 is the foundation of marriage and family, where this way you ask about.
No, but you know, let's say for example, you've got like 4 chapters dedicated to like one thing. Is that
talking stage?
Yeah. So the chapters are family understanding. This way you understand how someone was brought up with their family. Then there's chapter 9 is financial literacy.
Okay.
You talk about finance and only finance.
Cool.
So each chapter.
So each chapter's got its own thing.
Yeah. And then chapter 10 is rhythm of marriage, daily lifestyle and routine. I think people overlook this, where they think, oh, I'm going to be married now, I'm going to start flying. Well, the way you were living before is how you're going to end up living after.
Yeah.
If you were a stinky person before you got married, you're going to be a stinky person when you get married. And so knowing the patterns of somebody, and you say to them, hey, are you a clean person? What do you do in these hours?
Do you regularly shower?
Yeah, do you regularly shower? You know, how do you spend on your free time?
Are
What
you
do you
messy?
do? Are you messy? These things that people end up fighting during marriage. And then chapter 11 is like lessons from the past. Now here's where you learn about the person's past from them. So past relationships, how they deal with, you know, being vulnerable, for example, heartbreaks, you know, have they been in a relationship? Why have they not been in a relationship? Or, you know, have they seen stuff in their family where it's traumatized them, for example?
Yeah.
And then chapter 12, this is where you learn about mental health and mental well-being. So you're actually checking, can the person even support me? Like, can they give me the right emotional needs and everything that I need?
They're recently in an inpatient ward.
Yeah, and are they a resilient partner? Because a part of marriage is being able to suffer as well. And not in terms of the marriage, but in life. You might have a child. Now, having children is not easy. As people will know, now you have to suffer. Now you have to be a mother and a husband. And now you have to navigate this world. But then can you even suffer? Can you do those late nights where you're not sleeping that well? Can you still go to work early morning?
Yeah.
Can you be frustrated and still be kind? And that's the part where people don't understand.
We need this book.
And then chapter 13 is
Really good.
mastering the art of communication and conflict resolution. And I think people don't realize is the good times are good. People love that. When people go on dates, when, you know, everything's working out. But when conflict comes out, are you doing that is me v you? Or are you doing it's me and you against this problem? Or are you doing it's me against myself against the situation? And it's nothing to do with you. Like, I realize sometimes I'm getting annoyed and I realize I'm not getting annoyed at her. I'm getting annoyed at myself.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to do with you. Maybe I had a bad day at work and I realized, why am I having a stinky attitude? She's done nothing to me. But it's about communicating. It's about realizing, hey, I'm not arguing against you. I'm not arguing against anything. And for example, one of the questions that someone who's married gave to me was like, if the problem is bigger than the relationship, that's when you've done something wrong. It should always be, is this problem bigger than my marriage? Is this problem bigger than my love for her? And if it isn't, then you solve it with each other, not against each other.
Yeah.
And there's also perception and perspective. You're both looking at the same problem in totally different ways. And it's coming to understand, okay, how can we meet in the middle? How can we understand each other? Then chapter 14 is the love language, exploring physical intimacy and affection in marriage. This is a chapter I know I attacked the Somali community, I can't lie to you. Because I was like, we make it a taboo thing to speak about how we want to be loved physically. And we don't know. And then people get married and they're like, why'd you get divorced? Oh, mate, like,
We don't know nothing.
We don't know nothing.
We didn't know.
Or like he wasn't doing it, or she wasn't doing it for me, or, you know, we didn't speak about it or any of things. And a lot of people, there is hishod, but in terms of, you know, when you are serious with somebody, these are things you have to be an adult about.
Yeah.
And then chapter 15 is beyond the spark, where shared values and lifestyle trump chemistry. This is where the mundane lifestyle things, the things about how you're going to look after your children, are you going to hit them? These are things that people don't talk about. And now you've hit the child, And she's like, my child. Now you're arguing.
It's true.
And you're thinking, well, it's my child as well. Now you're thinking, okay, do we homeschool the children? Or do we take them to private school? Or do we take them to public school? You know, how do we talk about all these different things?
You know what makes me laugh? I was just remembering. It's like when me and the kids, like if I shout at the kids, it's okay.
Yeah.
But if my husband shouts at the kids, I feel so bad. I'm like, are you guys okay? Are you good?
Yeah, and then
But it's
chapter
really
16
fun.
is like the final words where I just conclude everything. Chapter 17 has all the questions, like in one place. So that if somebody didn't want to read everything, or after they read it, they just wanted to go to the question, they can go to chapter 17 and then find the questions immediately.
Where can everyone get your book?
So far it's available on TikTok Shop and on Amazon as well.
Okay.
So if you just type in "Can I ask you a question?" Abdiwahab, you'll find it there.
And where can they find you on all your socials?
My all socials is Abdiwahab and on.
But
both.
there's Somali one and English one, no?
There
I know
is-
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you.
There is.
Hother knows all.
It's Love Lens and Abdiwahab. But right now I'm mainly on Abdiwahab, but I will also be on.
I feel
Love
like you
Lens
should
right
go
now.
back to Abdiwahab.
Yeah.
I feel like mix it.
Yeah, I'll probably try and mix English and Somali. But you know, Somalis are like, if you talk English one time, they're
I
like,
know, they get emotional.
They're mad.
I think you need to start a podcast.
Inshallah, I'm thinking about it.
Inshallah.
Inshallah,
I
I'm
just
thinking about
think that, you know, this book has lots of gems.
Yeah.
And also, you need to start your relationship coaching.
After I get my license, I don't want to be coaching people.
No, of course.
without a
How long does
certificate.
your license take?
So it takes 6 months and I'm almost at the end of it.
Yeah, there you go.
Goodness. You're always a qualified relationship
Yeah,
coach.
exactly. So inshallah.
Oh, should we
hopefully-
do the course?
Well, I know for our relationship. We've
Why
got years
not?
of trauma between us.
Family therapy.
Our family therapist.
I actually do recommend a lot of couples do go to therapy.
I've done counselling.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good.
Because you'll realize,
But there's not a lot of Muslim counsellors.
yes,
And
that's-
even the one that I used, I felt like side eye, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh.
yeah, I
Not
think
professional.
there's a lot of Somali therapists, there's Somali psychologists, but they're not therapists.
No, yeah, there isn't.
And they're really into the mental health. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
Subha, come on,
Yeah.
come out of that area.
Come out of that trauma, please.
And come here. And a lot of them, I spoke to some of them, they're like, nah, like that's too much. Or some of them not married, and they're like, yeah, I'm not married, so how could I be giving advice to married people? And I'm like, you still
No,
have
I
the
think you
theory.
can
I think
still.
you have the theory.
Of course.
Yeah,
you
they definitely
understand.
have the thing. Why did they studied
yeah,
all
so
that?
You have the theory. But then with Somalis, like even me, for example, people are like, even if you have the theory, before I was married, I was like, you know what, like you guys, I'm single like you guys, and this is what I'm doing. And then a lot of people will be like, oh, don't give us advice.
But
You
Somalis
get
are
married
rude like
first.
that.
Yeah, they
You
are
get
rude.
married first. And I'm like, the goal is always changing. So when you do
The
get
goalpost
married,
is
it's like, you
You
haven't been married for 10
that
years.
long.
Yeah. So I'm like, you're
Don't
just
listen
changing
to them.
things.
Don't listen.
No.
Honestly, you've got a good thing here. So,
Alhamdulillah.
yeah, may Allah
Keep going.
increase you
Thank you, thank you.
increase you in it.
Inshallah.
Ameen,
And come
ameen.
back. We want you to
Yeah, we
be
need
Yeah.
to come back.
Well, I'm
Honestly,
coming
I
back.
feel-
come back to us.
You're like the male perspective we actually like need.
We do the Reddit stories with you guys.
Yeah.
Well, we
sure.
didn't even get time to do a scenario,
yeah.
but next time come back, we'll do scenarios. We're going to
Definitely.
collect all the toxic ones.
Definitely. And the good ones, eh?
And the good No, you're a relationship coach now. You need to accept negativity, okay? No, but we're going to give you both, but I feel like it would be really good, and definitely join the family. And inshallah,
Thank you.
girls, make sure, not just girls, because we have some boys that listen to us now.
We do.
I was one of them.
Yahya said he listens to us.
Yeah.
Yahya's,
Oh my
Yeah.
god, that's amazing.
Yeah, he is single, by the way.
Yahya's,
And he's a doctor, mashallah.
Oh, girl, he's how old?
Comes from a
24.
good oh, yeah.
He said he wants to travel earlier, but
Yeah.
he can travel with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, here, do you want to just come and sit here for a second?
I'm good.
Anyway, guys, that is the end of this episode. It's actually Ramadan right now, so I hope fasting is going well for you guys. Make dua for us, and we'll make dua for you. And that is the end. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.